So you want a video about cheese curds? Okay, we'll make a video about cheese curds. My niece is my camera person today, and we're gonna try some different cheese curds here in Wisconsin. Make sure there's space above my head, okay, in the frame. Okay. All right, we've ordered some cheese curds, and Lydia got a small dish of ice cream because apparently that's all she eats. I told her that will only work for about 5 more years since she's 12. Anyway, I've brought my dissection knife so we can look inside the cheese curd. Now, my niece says that we can dissect things with our teeth, but I like to be accurate. So yeah, this is Culver's. It's a very, well, probably the most popular fast casual chain in Wisconsin. I guess the best way to put it is it's like Chick-fil-A, except for it's open on Sundays and has a wider variety of food. All right, here are the Culver's cheese curds. Now, a lot of people talk about, oh, why don't you get the Culver's cheese curds when you go to Culver's? And one of the reasons that I don't really is because they're basically just food service cheese curds. They have a like a breading around them, like a crumb breading. Let's take a look inside. It's not beer batter, I guess that's my point. I had to make sure my niece isn't in the shop because she's 12 years old and YouTube will have a conniption fit. All right, so let's dissect this. All right, so it's light cheddar. It's got pretty good elasticity. See when you pull it apart like that? But it is a pretty standard food service breading, and I'm quite sure that these would have been frozen to start. So while they're good, they're not really the best kind of cheese curds you can get in Wisconsin. Let's dissect another one. See if we can get a cross section going. But here, I mean, this one looks even more white cheddar. It's got pretty good elasticity with the cheese, but I think it's lost a little bit of it because, as I mentioned, this was very likely a frozen product, probably from Sysco Food Services. Also, the crust is probably a little thicker than would be optimal. For myself, a good rule of thumb are the cheese curds that are leaking. There should be cheese leaking out the side of them, like, well, leaking out, basically leaking out the side. I think that's a good indication of a better cheese curd. See, these are all intact, which means the breading is a little bit on the thick side because none of it's being allowed to leak. It's kind of like cracking open a geode. Also, a unfrozen cheese curd will usually stretch farther than these. So if you take a look at this curd, the cheese to breading ratio isn't super great because the breading is kind of thick. So these little curds, you don't get much cheese at all. And I think that's one of the negatives with food service cheese curds. Let's try a manual break of a curd. Not too bad. Now, as the temperature decreases, you can have more separation between the cheese and the breading, as you can see here. So as someone who worked in a restaurant as a teenager, I can tell you, making cheese curds by hand is a pain in the butt, and you really get tired of doing it after a few orders. So I can see why a fast casual chain like Culver's would rather just use a frozen product. Although I do believe they fry their fish to order, which does have a beer batter on it. And we've covered that on this channel before. I don't know if I can eat all of these, especially if we have to go find more cheese curds. Lydia, we still have 2 places left to stop for curds before we can go see the movie. Okay, now we're on the far east side of Madison. We're at one of the Great Dane locations, which is like a local brewery place. This place has quite above average cheese curds. Not super amazing, but pretty good. And also, there's a giant hole behind me. They found one last cornfield in the city limits that hadn't been gentrified into a housing project yet, and they are now gentrified into a housing project. Although I guess it was empty field, so it's not technically gentrification, but whatever. Let's go inside. Oh yes, here are the Great Dane cheese curds. See how they're leaking? Yes, that's a good sign. And it even came with some dipping sauce. And I've got Crop Circle wheat to drink here. Very refreshing. Yes, see how they stick together? Let's dissect these. Okay, now look, the breading is a lot thinner than it was at Culver's, and the cheese should also stretch farther. Look at that. There's like a foot. See that? Oh my gosh, we're up to like 18 inches. Yes. Look at the difference.
I will make an extra one. I mean, I'll take that.
Let's try this little guy. Oh, that one broke. Now, here's a good example of the leaky cheese. So you got some leakage here, 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 and here. And on the end. Greasy fingers are key to goodness. Now, these are some quite proper Wisconsin cheese curds. There are better examples, but this is a very consistent location to get them. And when we were doing the show, the office wasn't too far from this location, so whenever we had people from out of town come in, this is where we would bring them to get authentic cheese curds. Great Dane. Now let's look at some raw cheese curds. So I bought these at Hy-Vee. It's usually a pretty good place to get them. You want to buy them as fresh as possible. Well, kind of an obvious statement. And at room temperature if possible. So these are at room temperature. Can you hear that? They squeak on your teeth. No, these are really good. But I gave you the leftover cheese curds from Great Dane. You didn't eat them. Would you eat a regular one? I don't think cats are supposed to eat cheese. Come here, try this. When they make cheese, they have all the milk and lots of salt. These are very salty. All the milk's in a big vat, and the cheese solids form. But I'm trying to give a history lesson. The cheese solids form in the curds. And so you have the curds, and they are floating in the whey, which basically is just salt water. So to make cheese, they scoop up all the floating curds, and they compress them into blocks, and then flavor them to make all the different kinds of cheeses. But if you just get the raw cheese curds, which is like the progenitor of cheese, you can eat them too, and that's what a cheese curd is. If you refrigerate them, they'll lose their squeakiness. If you thaw them out and let them get warm, they'll regain their squeakiness. You can also microwave them for about 20 seconds, which is a life hack way of restoring the squeakiness. So I think for the finale of my cheese curd video, I'll show you how to make your own beer battered cheese curds at home. That was impressive. You yawned and meowed at the same time. I gave you a cheese curd. What more do you want? Food? You know, if you were in the movie A Quiet Place 2, Quiet Harder, the monsters would get you like almost immediately. So let's make some homemade fried cheese curds. I'm going to start by coating the cheese curds in cornstarch. This will help to make the batter stick. I've also chosen the larger curds that were left in the package. To make this as Wisconsin as possible, I'm going to use spotted cow for the beer batter. Oh yeah! Obviously beer is the most important part of beer batter. Right, Lydia? What happened? Just gonna mix in some flour till it gets to a good consistency. Probably let the bubbles die down. Gonna add a few breadcrumbs, not too many, just a little bit, because as we saw, some of the other curds were very breadcrumby. I want mine to be mostly beer batter, but I'll give it some breadcrumbs for, I don't know, consistency or thickness or something. I'm also heating up oil in my Dutch oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. So yeah, the thing that kind of sucks about making cheese curds this way is you gotta put them all in the batter, then you gotta kind of get your hands all covered with batter and then stick them all in the fryer and try to have them cook at the same time. That part's a little difficult. Okay, I'm doing a test cook of just one of them. I think the batter might be a little on the thick side, but should be all right. So I'm just gonna let it cook until it starts to leak. Okay, here's a curd, hot off the press. Let's take a look inside. Oh, look at that gooey goodness. That's pretty warm. And now for the taste test. That's really good. The batter is probably a little too thick. I could add a little bit more beer. Oh, Lydia, you're missing out. These are delicious. Well, I tried using this basket, but just kind of failed because they stuck to it. So when I do the next batch, I'm just going to drop them all directly in, just like that first one I tried. Hey, I'm going to have to crack another beer to thin out this batter. Oh, darn. All right, this is the second batch. Some fissures erupted because I used that basket, but oh, look at all the leaky cheese we have. Leaky cheese. It's the best kind of cheese. Oh my gosh, Lydia, I can't eat all of these myself.
Cheese balls are the best.
Cheese balls are made of fake cheese.
Too bad they're good.
You are a disgrace to Wisconsinites.
I want a disgrace.
You're what?
I'm not a disgrace. Like,
You ever see the movie Lilo and Stitch?
yeah.
You're an abomination! Yeah. Oh my gosh, look at these things. They're like cheese logs. They're brilliant.
See how long you can stretch them. Stretch.
All right, Lydia says I should do a stress test. Or no, stretch test.
Wow.
What was that, about a foot?
Yeah.
Okay, this is with slightly thinner batter, which also shows you another negative of doing these in a restaurant setting. They tend to leave a lot of debris in your oil that you have to clean up. But we'll see if the thinner batter, well, it'll make them smaller definitely. We'll see how it turns out. You know, I'm probably never gonna have to poop again after I eat all this cheese.
Yep. You'll be constipated.
Mm-hmm. I'll be constantly constipated. I'll be constipated.
Constipated.
All right, here's the more lightly battered curds. As you can see, they're lighter in color because they cooked faster, so the outsides didn't cook as much. There is some cheese leakage going on. Again, I mean, you want some, but you don't want your grilled or your fryer to be completely muddled by cheese. This one kind of looks like a little creature. So you got like little legs and stuff.
Did you make a hybrid?
A hybrid? Ooh, look at that. I made a chimera curd. All right, stretch test. About 1 foot, 1 foot. Also, my fingers are burning. Let's try these with some Freddy's fry sauce. Oh, yeah. How's your sloth heart going, Lydia?
Oh, no.
You don't know? Can't you look at it and see what your progress is?
I got pink and black.
Those are the colors you finished?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, bud, we know. Mmm. Excellent. Did you say it was shining, Lydia?
Shiny.
Shiny.
Where we were both thinking the same thing.
Hey, that was a pretty good movie. I like that crab guy. He was cool.
And grab.
Did you like the song? Oh. These seem the kind of thing like every time you eat one, you take a week off your life.
Huh?
It's like some sort of Twilight Zone episode.
Hey, at least when you eat cheese balls, you don't eat constipated.
Yeah, because they're not real cheese.
So, you can eat cheese balls all you want, except they are not good for you.
You know what's funny? These cheese curds, like probably 3 of these curds have more calories than that whole thing of cheese balls.
Another fact.
Oh my gosh.
Are you good?
It's good, but it's not good for me. What's the other fact that I should know?
That cheese curds are maybe better than cheese balls.
They are, well, they are.
But they have more calories. What does that say? That you should stop eating.
Yeah, but your cheese balls are just like cornstarch with powder on them. Oh, I don't think I can eat any more of these. Didn't we try that at Culver's? We tried to give away the cheese curds and that lady didn't want them.
We did.
Oh, look, that one kind of looks like the face of a sloth.
Why are you always talking about sloths?
Because they're cool.
They're slow.
You're the one who wanted a sloth art thing.
I didn't say that.
You picked it out.
You picked it out.
Enlarged to show detail.
Wait.
Do you know I have 36 first cousins? 36. You and your mom. Because remember, our grandma had 9 kids.
Oh, you want to know a fact from your side?
What?
I probably won't get a.
We'll die of heart disease?
I know I won't get a. Probably won't get a cousin from either of you.
You're right. I have no intention of that. Does that make you sad?
No, it makes me happy because I don't have to deal with younger child when I come here.
That's true. If I had a kid, which I won't, they would be like way too young and then you wouldn't even care. Well, there you have it. We looked at 2 different types of commercial restaurant cheese curds here in Wisconsin.
What?
We also looked at what raw cheese curds look like, and then I showed you how to make your own fried cheese curds at home with a deadly oil-filled Dutch oven, and also deadly because I probably just clogged up 2 arteries. Well, we'll catch you in the next video. Bye. Want to say goodbye, Lydia?
Bye.